All right, I want to share a little uplifting story with you today. I got a comment from someone who asked for a positive video, and you know what? When you're griping all the time, it's fair to work in some positiveness. Just so you know, I will be live streaming tonight on this very channel, starting around 5 or 6 o'clock, and at least until 9 or 10. We'll talk about today's issues as well as do some gameplay of things like Doom and Postscriptum on there. So I'll see you there. The question gets asked a lot. How do I enjoy my hobby? Whether that's comic books, video games, tabletop games, trading card games, movies, whatever your particular thing is, it seems like everything's always getting infected, right? Whether it's the Battlefield 5 controversy or it's unwanted, unneeded reboots like Terminator 6 or Ocean's 13 or whatever the hell it was called, Ocean's whatever, Lady Ghostbusters. It seems like everything, trading cards, comic books, is infected with social justice, with virtue signaling, with judgment of their own customer base. And I know firsthand what this is like dealing with, because when I was banned from playing Magic the Gathering for aggressively posting Pepe memes, I was lost there for a little while. I had been playing Magic since I was, since 1994, 1993, 1994, on and off for almost 20 years, more than 20 years. And I went through a funk for a while. And so I can totally relate to whether you're into comic books or you're into board games or you're into, tabletop or trading card games. The social justice influence is something that once you see it, it's really hard to unsee. And you can kind of get stuck in this spiral of unhappiness and anger because, well, it's all dumb. You're right to be angry. It's normal to be angry. I want to share a story with you and then share the answer I gave that person. Somebody asked me in a live stream the other day, something like, what am I supposed to do? I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't, it's everywhere. That person isn't wrong. However, I do think that we can all still enjoy our hobbies, regardless of what's going on with the AAA video game companies or places at Marvel. Let me give you a couple examples. Ethan Van Sciver and Diversity in Comics. These are two guys that were upset with how things were in comics. They both went out and both raised more than $500,000 each, I think, roughly $1 million between the two of them, kickstarting their own comic books. The tide is turning. There are people out there willing to give us apolitical content who are thankful for our business. And I went through this with Magic. I eventually stopped covering it here on Unsleeved Media. I have to get that Magic stuff out from over there yet. And it was kind of weird for me to just start covering other things. But eventually you're like, why do I want to give these dickholes my money? If EA tells me to not buy it, then I'm going to not buy it. And it feels bad, like you're giving something up. But let me share with you, there was a whole golden era of the 90s and early 2000s when a lot of this stuff wasn't as bad as it is now. If you like video games, let's take video games, for example, and you can apply this to whatever you're into, whether it's trading card games, board games, comic books, but let's use video games. There are millions of options of games to play. What I've done is I've started just buying older games. If EA says don't buy my game, okay, fine. Maybe I'll buy something else, an old title, something on the secondary market. There's far more games in existence than anyone could ever play with 100 lifetimes. extra lives, I should have said. Ooh, that would have been good. But, which means there's definitely hundreds you've missed, maybe even thousands that you've missed. If you open yourself up to retro gaming, that's where I found my love again. Going out, and let's say you buy 2 AAA titles. Okay, that's $130. You go out and you get something like the NES Mini, Super NES Mini. An item that is just $99. You get Super Mario World, Zelda, Star Fox 2, Super Metroid, F-Zero. You get an enormous amount of entertainment for $100 without having to give any money to EA. You go get a Genesis Classic that has 60 games on it. Chances are you're going to find 2 or 3 that you really like. You can get those super cheap. If you go even older and get an NES Mini, they're a little more expensive because Nintendo didn't print enough of them, but they're out there for about $150 if you want. And they have 30 different classic NES games. And this is the type of purchase that can carry you for months. If you just commit to 6 months of saying, you know what, I'm not going to buy any AAA titles. I'm going to buy games off the secondary market. I'm going to go on Steam. I'm going to buy games from indie publishers. Or I'm going to go back and play some of the games that I bought and never finished. And you just turn off all the bullshit, all the virtue signaling and all this. Here's what's going to happen. One, I can guarantee you're going to have 6 amazing months of playing video games. Whether it's, you get into the NES stuff, you get into the Genesis stuff. I mean, you go get a PlayStation and play some of the best games ever. I mean, Final Fantasy VII exists. You know what I mean? Parasite Eve. The list goes on and on of amazing games that were on the original PlayStation. Sure, fine, the graphics aren't cutting edge. But that's such a small part of enjoying a game. Look at games like Octopath Traveler. There's a million JRPGs out there if you're into that. You don't have to play Battlefield. And there's this thing in marketing. So I do marketing for a living. That's what I do. I'm an online marketing agency. That's my day job. And one of the most effective tactics that we use is basically capitalizing on the fear of missing out. You say, well, everyone else is playing it. You should too. Or, well, boy, if you don't buy now, you're never going to get it. Or if you don't buy our super special limited edition, you're never going to get it. And that is a really powerful emotion to play on, and gamers respond. People who like comic books respond. People who like trading card games respond to that. But after you commit, just commit to 6 months of no AAAs. Or 6 months of trying new trading card games. Or 6 months of buying used board games. I mean, holy crap, if you go on eBay, millions of options for used board games. Go to Half Price Books, get some used books. What this is going to do, one, it's going to guarantee you have a good time. The first month is hard. I know it sounds so cheesy, but it is hard. Like every time a new Magic set came out in the beginning, I was like, ah. Oh. And I even went back and I bought some every once in a while. But now that I'm clean, I've got all these other games to play, and I hardly ever think about Magic unless to make fun of it. This method works for comics. It works for video games. It works for whatever your fandom is. It's been going on forever. And you could put the money in the hands of the companies that want it and respect you as customers. You could put the money in the hands of somebody else who's selling something on the secondary market. You could put the money in the hands of the people who innovate. If you're the type of person who would do buy a Raspberry Pi setup, I mean, I disavow because, ROMs are technically illegal, but you can get them. You can, for $150 or less, you can have access to like every single NES, N64, Sega, Super Nintendo, every one of those games. You couldn't play them all if you tried. And you're buying hardware from somebody who just wants your money. And you're not giving any money to the companies who apparently don't. So you're going to have fun. And after 6 months, I guarantee you're not going to miss it. Like, I just went back and installed Doom, a game that's 2 years old. I paid $20 for it. It's fun. I'm going to stream it tonight. And that's still from a major company. But there are many other options out there. Even retro PC gaming. Get an old, like, Pentium 1 and play some King's Quest, Police Quest, all those old, all those old RPGs. Those games are fun. I'm telling you. Like, if you give them a chance. So you're going to have fun playing video games, and here's another big thing that's going to happen. You're going to take the money out of the hands of the people that clearly don't want it. You go 6 months, you skip this fall's buying season of all the new titles, and you just commit to retro gaming or new alternatives or companies that are apolitical. It doesn't have to be old. It just has to be companies that are, apolitical and that are capitalists. That just want to sell the damn game. I did that video on Crunchyroll yesterday. You know what? Unsubscribe from Crunchyroll and get your anime other ways. The more people that do this, and then every chance you get, you tell them, hey, I didn't buy Battlefield 5 because you shit on the customers. I'm enjoying these other games. Enjoy not selling it. It's going to start to matter. Support the companies like CD Projekt Red for the most part, that just love their customers, the big companies, and just ignore all these companies that are too big to care about the customer anymore. And no matter what, okay, I believe if lots of people get together, this will have a strong impact on AAA titles. I just believe it to be true because of how fast this channel is growing. Thousands of new people a day are subscribing to this channel. That tells me that there are other people out there that feel the same way, that just want their escapism. They don't want the politics. They don't want to be preached to. It's not even about whether you agree or disagree. I don't want it. You don't want it. So why don't we support the secondary market? Why don't we support the indie developers, the companies, even the big companies that go out of their way to serve the customers? When you buy from them, you tell them why you did. Yeah, I had a lot of options, but I bought this game because of how you treat your customers, and you don't get involved in politics and everything else like that. We have to support the companies that don't. And you're going to start to see the gap closing between these AAAs and then the indies. And maybe also you fall in love with some retro games. You open up Steam, there's infinite options. Just enjoy your hobby, but enjoy it a little differently. Once you change the way that you look at gaming, or you look at comics, or you look at tabletop gaming, or Magic the Gathering, or whatever it is that you're into, LP collecting, it is truly liberating. As somebody who really, really depends on that escapism. Now YouTubing is kind of my escapism, to be honest with you. But for a long time, I relied on that because life is stressful. You got work, you've got shit going on at home, or maybe you're in school. You got this. You just want to take an hour off to relax. So do it playing like an NES Classic. Do it playing a Sega Classic. Do it playing a ROM legally. Do it surfing eBay and looking for some old obscure board game that you can buy and play. Do it looking back into the history of all the games you've missed and go back and buy them. You can buy a PlayStation 1. I bet you right now, I'm going to look it up. You can buy a PlayStation 1 right now on eBay for $70. For the price of one game, you can get that retro console. Open yourself up to thousands of titles you may never have played. Maybe you want to get Final Fantasy Anthology for $30. Maybe you want to go pick up Parasite Eve or some of the original Resident Evils. Every console had its premium titles. So what if you only buy 5, right? You buy the PlayStation, you get 5 or 10 games, and then you're done with it. Okay, now it's January. You go pick up an N64, and then you sell it, right? You sell it, you get most of your good chunk of your money back because they've bottomed out. Keep it nice, keep it clean, keep the box it came in. Sell it in 3 months, 4 months when you're done with it. Then go buy an N64 and pick the top 5 titles from that. Then go buy a PlayStation 2 and get the top 5 titles from that. And before you know it, it'll be 2 years later, and you will have not played the latest AAA titles in a while, and you won't care. And hopefully this will have some effect on the big companies that are choosing virtue signaling over their customers. So I just want people to know that we have options and to not feel like you have to give your money to people that don't want it. I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the live stream. Hope you enjoyed this Positive Patty video. We'll talk to you again real soon.